So my name is Siobhan Leijen and I'm a psychotherapist here in Athlone Care Clinic, and you're very welcome to my podcast, which is The Wellbeing Machine. I'll hand you over to Paul.
Okay, I'm Paul Gill. I'm a hypnotherapist working here in Athlone Care Clinic, working in Galway and of course online. And this is my first podcast. So we're calling this Mind Blowing, I think. And the reason why I think that's a good name is that some of the stuff we talk about, like both of us have got a lot of friends and associates who we're in the same profession as we are, and we talk about stuff and it's fine. But I remember talking to a colleague of mine and we were just chatting about stuff. We thought we were chatting, but his partner was looking at us and her jaw was just open and she was kind of wide-eyed thinking, my God, that's amazing. So we're going, no, we're just chatting about stuff. So some of these things that we take for granted these concepts that we're going to get into today are actually mind-blowing for people who've never been exposed to this. And I suppose that's the way it was for me when I started studying hypnotherapy. It really opened my mind to a completely different way of seeing the world. It's a bit like Neo in the Matrix, where you kind of realize, so this is what's really going on. I love that film as well.
So cool.
Really love that film because, you know, sometimes people say, oh, there's a lot of fighting and martial arts. And I say, yeah, and I like martial arts, but it's the way we can be controlled and be prisoners in our own heads.
Yeah.
Which
is the theme for today.
Yeah, we're going to talk about beliefs. Like we believe things about everything. Beliefs are like a template. They give us a structure. So they give us a certainty. You know, we believe that the sun is going to rise in the sky every morning. That's reassuring. If it doesn't, we're in trouble. But we believe things as well. Beliefs aren't facts. I suppose that's really
that's a really important point, I suppose. You know, because when we're dealing with anxiety or autism spectrum disorder or any of those things, or even depression, like we tend to have a belief in our mind about the way we feel or about the way people treat us or how we are ourselves in the world. And of course, those thoughts are not facts. It's like when you pass somebody on the street that you know, and you say, oh, hey, Mary, how's it going? And Mary walks past you and she doesn't acknowledge you even. You know? So we're halfway up the road and we're going, what the fuck did I do to her?
Yeah.
Why didn't she speak to me?
Yeah.
Or maybe I'm after saying something wrong. So the whole narrative's going on in her mind.
Yeah, you know what, women should. We should probably do a podcast on this, the difference between the way men think and women think. I remember with an ex-partner of mine, we were out and we met somebody in the street, this other woman, and this pleasant conversation, we're smiling, hello, and blah, 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 blah. And then when we went off, my ex said to me, she was really off with me. And I go, what? I didn't notice anything. Now this was before I was trained as a therapist, indeed. But men, we're different, and I suppose I don't want to deviate into that for this podcast. But we'll come back to it. So going back to beliefs, beliefs aren't factually true. Because take religion for example. I think there's about up to 1,000 or more gods that are currently worshipped in the world at the moment. You know, we've got monotheism, which is like Judaism, Christianity, Islam, they believe in a god. But if you go back to the Vikings and whatever, they did like Thor and a whole table full of gods, you know, sitting down and the ancient Greeks and so if your beliefs were facts, then all religions would be factually true. There would only need for one religion, but there isn't. So each religion believes this. So we've got it. The other crowd haven't, but we have it. So it's their situation, the way they believe things. So beliefs are really thoughts that we hold to be true. But they're not necessarily true. But they give us a structure. So how do we get these beliefs?
Well, you touched on it in the last podcast actually that we recorded, and I think it leads nicely into this one today, because what you were talking about before was like, you know, how people are brought up a certain way, and, you know, the people in our lives imprint upon us, I suppose, you know, our parents, our siblings, the people who teach us. My husband often says it takes a village to rear a child, you know what I mean? It's like a real old Irish saying, I think. Now I could stand corrected on that.
No, I've heard that.
It is a real thing, isn't it? Like that this is where we get our beliefs and our values and our morals and all of these things. And this is something that we work very closely on with our clients, especially when we have a new client. It's like new blood in the door, isn't it, Paul? It's like, oh God, we have an opportunity to help this person change their lives, their perception of things.
What I do say to sometimes to people is where did you get that belief from?
Yeah, who told you that?
Yeah, and they go a bit blank, and their eyes kind of stare down the middle, a bit like this.
Yeah.
They go over and back, just like the EMDR with the eye movement, over and back, and they're processing. And when you kind of think, well, where did I get that? Well, I was taught that growing up. Who taught you that? Well, master whatever in school, or miss whatever in school. How did they know that was true? I don't know. And so we just accept, we borrow beliefs or take them, adopt them from other people.
We do.
And it gives us a structure, but it also helps us. An important part of being human is to socialize and fit in with your community. And we've learned this through evolution that if you go back to our prehistoric ancestors, if you're out on your own foraging for food or trying to stay safe from wild animals, good luck with that while you're young and healthy. But as you get older, then you're very susceptible. But we learned, and I suppose it was got to do with the development of the brain, we learned to form communities and tribes. So that if you had an off day, or if you were sick, or if you hurt your ankle, other members of the tribe would look after you. And then, if they had an off day, you'd look after them. And I suppose our ability to communicate with language, we learned to fit in. And that fitting in meant then that we did what other people did, and we believed what other people believed. So you'll see it in modern day, you see it in football. Premier League, you see Liverpool supporters, Man United supporters, Chelsea supporters, and these are their tribes. And, and it's interesting, it's kind of a little bit off track, but when a team's doing well and you hear a supporter talk about saying, so we did well last Saturday, we beat them or whatever. But when they're not doing well, they kind of go, oh, they lost and they were crap. And we divorce ourselves.
Oh, he set it all.
It's not, not to do with me. You see, we take the credit and we don't take any of the responsibility. But we join clubs and societies that have rules, codes of ethics. It's like our tribes, mini tribes, even tribes within tribes. Religion is the big one.
People congregate together and pray together and whatever. But I think, like, just on the religion thing, I think it's all the one concept, really. It's like love others, do no harm, for the most
satanic religions.
Yeah, well, we'll go into those today.
But religion, you see, gives us that sense of security. There's a set of rules. You follow these rules and you're going to be okay.
Yeah. And it's the piece of the unknown then as well, because when you die, nobody actually really know. Well, I can't say
that's a different podcast. I'm not going to go there.
But it is about the perception as well that if you follow this religion, you're going to be okay when you die because you'll go to heaven.
Yeah, but again, we're conditioned like that in school. You follow the rules in school.
Yeah,
you learn your lessons. You do your homework, and you're going to be okay. If you didn't do that, then you were punished. Especially from the generation, my generation, you're a little bit younger than me. I used to always mix up, I'm a little bit dyslexic, so I would mix up corporal punishment and capital punishment. And some capital punishment used to be in our school. And it was,
Jesus.
You could have been nearly taken out the back and shot, but you were definitely slapped around or whatever. And it was part of the course. It was nothing exceptional. And if you went home and said you were slapped by the teacher, you got a second one from your mother for embarrassing the family.
What did you do?
Yeah, we're going the complete opposite way now. But you learn to conform. So beliefs allow us to conform, to fit in, and they work well and good. They're like programs. I compare habits to programs. Like a computer runs a program. You want the computer to switch on Microsoft Word or Pages if you use an Apple, and you click on the icon and it runs the program, and then that's fine. We have programs, habits, whether they're physical habits such as drinking, smoking, whatever, but habitual ways of thinking, which I find fascinating. We don't think, we can have an umbrella way of thinking that we might call our personality or our character. But within that, we've got different modalities of thinking, different ways of thinking about different situations. And this is all predicated on what we believe. The programs that we are running very, very deep. So a program will run forever in the subconscious mind unless it causes a problem.
Like depression, anxiety, or something pops out there. Addictions.
And there's always a reason for it.
Yeah, always.
There's always, and this I've had this discussion.
Like a maladaptive program or a virus, and you're
go back to the Matrix thing. It could be something. So programs doing things they shouldn't be doing. And this is why I said to medical professionals, there's a place for medication, for anti-anxiety medication and so on and so forth. But it shouldn't be just that I have had people come into me and say, I've been on anti-anxiety medication for 5-10 years, and I can go, did nobody tell you to go talk to somebody? He said, no. But it's isn't it nature, human nature? You do sit down and you talk to a friend.
Cause and effect.
It's causing, it is
like something caused that. Like I'm a massive believer in that, you know, people, nobody wants to become an addict at the end of the day, or become addicted or dependent on anything in life.
Yeah.
But we do, because, you know, we're trying to deal with old emotions or old traumas.
Yeah, we're trying to escape them. We're trying to escape them.
Yeah, so what do we do?
You know,
void.
So, and again, I congratulate people sometimes who kind of, you know, have gone down the addiction route and say, yeah, fair play, you discovered a strategy that worked for you, but there's side effects of that strategy.
Yeah.
And even somebody like who's binge eating or something, I said that strategy works. You're creating serotonin in your gut. The minute you eat something sweet, it gives you a fix, it gives you a hit, and you feel good. You've conquered your problem for 5 minutes. And then you have to repeat the process, and then you put on weight, and then that adds to your self-esteem being lowered. Yeah.
So bad.
And Siobhan, the amount of people I get coming to me for weight loss and they're talking about trying to fit into clothes, and I could go, it's not even like you want to lose weight for health reasons, it's how you feel.
Yes.
It's all about how you feel.
Especially for women, I think.
Yeah.
Although I have to say, like, my husband would be very health conscious as well, you know, and that'd be a big thing for him, is weight.
Yeah.
You know, he likes to be fit and healthy and all that. But I think nearly everybody does. But it's just not possible for some people. Like, obviously, there are medical conditions.
But again, the conditioning, Siobhan, like, I mean, especially for women, most of them men, that you have to be a size 0, you have to fit in with, you know, whoever's current, you know, the Kardashians or whatever, that you have to be like this. But again, that's a human, I was going to say human nature, but it's actually, it's nature, because I remember coming across information with a certain type of fish. It's a tropical fish. And it will change color to attract females. But then, you know, but the other females see this fish, they kind of go, oh, he's interesting, he's different, and they're attracted. Then all the other males go, I'm going to copy him, and they all become that color.
Oh my god!
And then they get the attention, and then when that becomes like you know, the old fashioned, they kind of go, oh, I'm going to change to a different color now.
Yeah. And
they all do this spontaneously, continuously change color.
Wow, that is so cool,
isn't it?
I love that.
So we do that with fashion.
Yeah, Jesus.
Something that you thought was cool. You know, the 1970s stuff is coming back in, bell bottoms and platform shoes and stuff like that. Not for me, but
why not, Paul?
But when you look back at old photographs of the way you looked in the 1980s or 90s, you can sometimes people go, oh God, what was I thinking?
I know, but it was all the gold then.
But you are going to look back on today in 10 or 15 years and go, oh my God, I couldn't believe I dressed like that.
Yeah, I know.
So our beliefs should constantly be challenged and be updated.
Yeah.
I ask people, what do you believe now that you didn't believe 5 years ago?
Yeah.
You know, like, and I remember being asked that question way back, and it was at the time all the scandal was coming out about abuse in the church and stuff like that. And growing up, you were, you know, the clergy were the top of the food chain. They were, you could, you know, they knew everything. They were right. You know, you deferred to them. And then I kind of went through all of that process, and I kind of, no, actually, I don't trust them anymore. So that belief totally turned on its head.
Yeah.
So then you ask the person next, and well, so what do you currently believe that you might not believe in 5 years' time? And that really gets them thinking. It gets the cogwheels moving around. You can see their eyes moving over and back.
Like my EMDR.
EMDR.
Love it.
Yeah, you see, I like that because it's very like REM sleep.
Yeah,
it's the same thing. And it happens all the time.
You're accessing the subconscious.
You're accessing the subconscious, and sometimes you're accessing, and if you look at NLP, neuro linguistic programming, and a friend of mine once said about never read an NLP book. He said, because you have to experience it really to understand it completely. Sometimes when you read NLP, you might get kind of lost in it if you've never been at a course or exposed to it. But it's neuro linguistic programming. It's how we interact with the world.
How they tell you're lying, you know. These detectors, they use a lot of that.
So you can see that, and I can read that in people's faces when I ask them a question, and I'm looking for them to, like, if they're thinking in visual terms, their eyes will move one direction. If they're thinking audio, if they're hearing sounds or remembering sounds, or if they're accessing feelings, their eyes will move in different directions around the place.
My God,
so you can tell, and if you ask somebody a question that they should know the answer to, and they access their imagination rather than their memory, you realize they're lying.
Oh, they're trying to make something up.
Yes.
Oh God, I can never lie to this fella. I've never watched that.
That's not true. So, you could sit yourself down and maybe bring yourself through a questionnaire of, what do you believe about politics? What do you believe about religion? What do you believe about, human beings? Because again, with the influx of people into Ireland over the last 10, 15, 20 years now, I suppose at this point, we've been exposed to different cultures, and sometimes there's an entrenched position of kind of we're our tribe here, and this new tribe is coming in, and we don't like them because they're different from us, and they've got different beliefs.
Yeah, fierce altogether. Now I love mix of culture, like where I work in Dublin as well, it's just fantastic. So many different cultures there, and it just makes the work so much more interesting, and so many more different ideas, and you learn about other people and the way they are and their cultures. Like Ireland is so weird, I think. Like,
look, we're only 5 million people.
Feck's sake, though.
Like I knew a guy who used to say there's more people in the city of Birmingham than there is in Ireland. He said there's 40 million people.
Yeah.
So we are a dot in the ocean, but yet we've had such an impact throughout the world. And like when you think of it, like Irish people went primarily to England and America back in the day, and the influence society. I mean, look, as we're recording this, it's the end of March, Paddy's Day. The whole planet celebrates Paddy's Day. Yeah. I mean, Irish, like we're only a little island out there in the west coast of Europe, 5 million people, but I think we got something like 60 or 70 million people who've got Irish passports throughout the world.
That's serious.
Yeah, but we Irish, then we would have spread our culture and we would our beliefs.
But the Irish person is very different living here in Ireland to the Irish person that goes abroad. Now, I'll give a little bit of context on this.
Okay.
And where I'm going with this. It's about perception as well. I would say that Irish people here are, now I'm probably going to get slated for this, lads, but we can be very begrudging. It's okay if you're doing well, but don't do too fucking well. You know what I mean? Don't do too much better than me now, or I won't like that. Or you're getting up on your high horse. Whereas if they move somewhere like Australia, my oldest brother moved to Australia when he was very young, and it's more of a cultural lifting each other up.
Yeah.
Because the resources in Australia are so vast. I mean, there's literally room for everyone to grow and expand.
Yeah.
And I think the smaller country nearly has that.
And plus, we came from a poverty complex, a lot of us. Poor Ireland.
Famine, the
way we were, but even like I grew up I was born in the mid-60s, so 70s, 80s, whatever. Everybody left the country. Your ambition was there was nothing.
Yeah.
And it was only when the Celtic Tiger happened that people started having money, which was the mid-90s. Yeah. But I think it was Bono on Gay Byrne's last Late Show. He was talking about that was the one where they gave him the Harley Davidson. I think it was that show, or maybe I could be. I stand corrected. Because sometimes when I remember things, it's like I remember the meat in the sandwich. I'm not interested in what kind of bread we're on. Just give me the nugget.
Yeah, what's in the middle?
So I don't tend to remember maybe people's names or locations, whatever. But the gist of it was that I think Bono, if it was Bono, was saying that in America the difference is that you see the guy with the big house on the hill and the nice plush car, and he's got a swimming pool. And in America, somebody looks at it and go, I'm going to be like him in 5 years' time. You see that in Ireland, the big house on the hill, the car, and you go, I'm going to get that bastard.
Oh my God, that's so true, isn't it?
It is.
We approach it like mad, like this is wrong.
But you see, when we grew up, and my mother was saying this recently. She said, like, we had nothing when we were growing up, but everybody had nothing. So you were saying, so the person who had something was different. And stood out and was a little bit uppity above the rest of the people in the tribe, and there was a resentment. You kind of, on the one hand, you wish somebody well if they went to America or England and made millions, but another part of you is going to go, well, I didn't make millions. Poor me.
This is actually after coming up for me recently in my own journey, where I would have been the poor kid, we say, in my class, because they were all in good jobs and different things like that, and big farms of land and everything around where I lived. So it would have been something I'd be teased about, having, not new clothes and different things like that, which I didn't know. I didn't know that going to school that I was going to be any different, and most kids out there don't realise that. But then when you get in there and everybody else is different to you, you feel on the outside, or I don't know whether you put yourself in that position that you're on the outside, or it just naturally happens.
You conform to your belief. You make yourself fit what the bracket.
You're kind of like trying to do your best.
Yeah. But there again, you see in school too, you had like the kids who came from the right side of the tracks. Their parents were professionals or rich or whatever, and then you had the others So you learned your pecking order in society.
Yeah, this is where I fit
Yeah,
in.
and again, going back to religion, you used to see that like Mass on Sunday, the better dressed people, the posh people, rating up.
So then that's like going back to what you said in the beginning about this belief system we have, you know, what our perception is of ourselves.
Oh, yeah.
The world around us, you know, the different things that people put on us or tell us as children. One of the things that I often share is I had a horrible teacher in school and she used to tell me I was so stupid, I'd never be anything but a chambermaid.
Yeah.
So as a result of that, I left school not able to read. I thought it was because I had dyslexia or there was something really seriously wrong with me. But it was actually anxiety. I was so anxious because she used to bring me up to the front of the class and humiliate me in front of everybody and like put me up there and say, now read. And I couldn't read. I'd be stuttering and stammering across the words. And everyone would be laughing at me. Or maybe not everybody when I look back. A few people laughed. It was kind of enough to instill that perception in me about myself. I see so many clients who come in and they have these negative beliefs put on them as kids, like, oh, you're good for nothing, you'll never amount to anything.
They're fixed in those beliefs,
and they get so entrenched and stuck in that, and they don't know how to get out of it.
Yeah, you see, we tend to believe everything we're told as kids.
You do, and you think it's gospel, don't you?
Yes, but if you notice, science will tell us that when the mind develops, the subconscious mind is more or less intact. When you're born, the consciousness has to develop, has to learn things through experience. So kids believe everything, like Santa Claus, the Tooth Fairy, Jack Frost, the Bogeyman. I believe all these things without question. But you'll notice in a lot of societies that you have, maybe it's marked by a religious ceremony or something around the age of 6 or 7. In Catholicism, it's First Communion. I'm not sure what it is in some of the other religions, but somebody will tell us. Where it marks a transition, where the person is moving from being a very young child into another area of life. But you will notice, and if any of you have any nieces, nephews, or kids that are around 7, 8, 9, they go through this phase of asking irritating questions. Why is the sky blue? Well, it's why is the grass green? And why did you answer that? And why? And it shows conscious mind development. And it stifles learning. Learning slows down. This is why we say kids are like sponges up to the age of 5 or 6 they are. They absorb everything without question. When we start to question things, we stifle learning. And it's interesting, and that can be reversed. You can learn things through hypnosis or even things while you're asleep. That's for another podcast.
The dream thing.
But I remember having a conversation with a guy. We're talking about who was the best footballer ever, and I said George Best. I said, well, what do you think, like how he compared to modern day footballers? Would he get the ball at all if he was on the field? And I thought, yeah, of course he would, or whatever. Who was the best? Who was the best boxer? Oh, Muhammad Ali. And then I realized that what I was saying was these are my heroes and idols when I was a teenager. And we tend to get fixated. They tend to be the best ever. And we tend to hold on to that in spite of evidence or facts or whatever to contradict that. The best music was then. I would say nobody's created any new music since 1982. And we get fixated in that, but not only that, but everything else as well. And sometimes we cling to a sense of permanency. The way life used to be. And the only thing that we can be sure of in life is that things will change.
Yes. Now that's definitely a big one that we need to discuss.
And
again,
we will, and maybe in a different podcast. But,
definitely,
so the only certain thing we have is things will change. So it's how you manage yourself.
Now, just while you're saying that, like on fear of change, I mean, how would you maybe advise a new client or somebody like how to deal with their fear of change? Because I find that's a massive thing with clients. I mean, nobody wants to change. It's like, oh, Jesus, status quo, we know what that is.
Well, sometimes it's your conditioning, Siobhan, on growing up where you deferred to others. You thought others knew better.
Yes. Yeah. Brilliant point.
So if others knew better, you never learned the skill of making decisions, maybe, or going with your own counsel, your own advice. And you need to. You're the only person who knows you 100%.
And you know what you're able for, what's your limits, what's your boundaries around things.
So you need to start working with trusting yourself. And you don't have to get things right. This is the thing. This is the test of barometer. People think, oh, I made that decision, it turned out to be wrong. Well, anybody who hasn't made a wrong decision has never done anything.
Yes, or learned anything.
No, you need to make a load of wrong decisions. A classic example is a child stands up on its two hind legs around the age of 1, 2, and starts to walk. Success? No, it falls.
Yes.
Gets up again. Walks a couple of steps, it falls. It might bang its head off the leg at the coffee table or whatever. It might be blood and it might be crying and tears. Parents being responsible people because now you're after trying to do that, don't do it again.
No one ever says that.
No. Through failure, you've learned to walk, climb, dance, run, everything. And that's how you've learned everything. We speak English, so I try to speak English. English is one of the most complex languages on the planet. I think Mandarin, Chinese, and Hungarian, I think. So English is right up there. You learn to speak English before the age of 1, words without ever studying grammar, opening a book, reading anything. You learned it through failure. When you started to talk English, you were incomprehensible. Some people still are. So embrace failure. You don't have to get it right first time, second time, even, I think it was Edison on the light bulb. He said he went through 1,000 and something before he discovered the one that did work. So failure, embrace it, learn from it. There's no such thing as failure. You get feedback, you do something. Does it work out? Yes, great, happy. It didn't work out. Okay, you get feedback. Why did it not work out? Analyze. What do I need to do different? Do I need to tweak things? Try again. Will it work out? No. Try again. Keep going, keep going. If it's important enough to you, you will keep going at it and you get it worked out.
That's what they say. Persistence is the key to riches.
Yeah.
You see that in Napoleon Hill's book. He talks about that.
Think and Grow Rich.
Think and Grow Rich. You've got to be persistent. You've got something in mind for your life, for your goal, whatever's ahead of you, be persistent in pursuit of that. Okay. And I just love that quote.
Okay. And maybe we'll talk about that in another podcast. We've come to the end of this one. There's going to be lots more. Again, give us a thumbs up if you like what we're talking about, and let us know what you want us to talk about.
Yeah, make sure you subscribe and comment down below to us. We'll be airing this across lots of different channels as always. And if there's anything that you fancy having thrashed out between two therapists, it's great to get our perspective, and of course the perspective of those who have had lived experience of the common issues in mental health as well. So we look forward to seeing you again next time, lads, and thanks a million for listening.